Hello, beautiful souls. This is Elena Maria Fouché with Mindfulness Made Easy. And I think this is the last video I'm gonna do. This is the third in what I thought was a two-part series on what you need to know to get started on a mindfulness practice. And I just realized in the middle of the second video that actually the thing I'm gonna talk about right now is so big it deserves its own few minutes of airtime. So here we go. One of the absolute hugest, biggest, most grandiose issues that people have when they practice is that their mind keeps wandering. I can't stop my mind, Elena. I can't practice. My mind keeps going. My mind wanders the whole time. Every time I sit down, I can only practice mindfulness for 3 seconds, and then I think the whole rest of the time. Why can't I stop thinking? You get the picture. Almost everyone has some version of this, and it takes time for you to believe me that your wandering mind is fine. The issue with mindfulness and the thing that we're doing with mindfulness is not stopping your mind from thinking. Your mind will keep thinking. I think all the time during my mindfulness practice. And not only is thinking okay, it's actually wonderful because it means my mind is still working. It's kind of like having my heart beat. I really want my heart to beat. It's a good thing. And, take a moment and let this sink in. And you may have to listen to this part many, many times because so many of us feel like our mind is the problem. For many people, the whole reason they come to mindfulness in the first place is because they think they want to stop thinking. They think that their thoughts are the problem. And they've heard people say, oh, mindfulness, it calms your mind, it clears your mind. And that's kind of true, but actually it's not true at all. Really what mindfulness does is helps you not believe in that whole cycle of thoughts. It helps you not get lost in them. But it doesn't stop them. It doesn't stop them at all. So here's the thing. If you're trying to stop your mind, you're going to get super duper frustrated, and it's because it's never going to work. You can stop thinking for a few seconds, even maybe a couple minutes. Eventually, though, your mind, like your heart, as long as you're alive, is going to keep going. So you will be frustrated by this. Pretty much everyone is, and it doesn't matter how many times I tell you, you're going to struggle with this because you think you're supposed to stop thinking. You're going to think that every time you sit down to practice and your mind wanders away, you're not practicing well, and you're not being mindful, and you're not being present. And that's just not true. This is the good news. The thing is, what happens is that eventually you're able to notice your thoughts as they move through. You're able to notice your emotions as they move through. You're able to notice your physical sensations as they move through. And you don't get so lost in them. You don't get so distracted by them. And the way that we train ourselves to do that is by focusing on something like our breath. And every time our mind wanders away, we gently come back to the breath. And eventually what happens is we're focusing on our breath and the thought comes through, and instead of our mind wandering away with the thought, our mind can stay here with the breath and just notice that the thought is moving through. Check it out, I'm thinking that. But of course, what happens in the beginning is you can't do that. When the thought comes through, instead of being able to see it come through and stay with your breath, you see it come and you go along with it. And then you think that because you've gotten lost in thought, because you've gone away and you weren't still focused on your breath, you're not practicing mindfulness. And love, that's just not true. It's totally okay for your mind to keep thinking, and it's totally okay for you to get lost in thought. So try to hear this. It is 1,000 million billion % okay for you to think and get lost in thinking while you're practicing mindfulness. As long as when you notice you're coming back to your breath or whatever your focus is, to sound or to vision, whatever you're doing, but let's say breath, as long as you're coming back, you are practicing mindfulness. And believe me or don't believe me, just practice and notice for yourself that eventually you get less lost. And it's because you've put in the time of letting your mind wander away and gently coming back, letting your mind wander away and gently coming back, letting your mind wander away and gently come back. And eventually your mind keeps wandering, but you don't go with it. So you actually need for your mind to wander and for you to come back so that you can learn how to do that. So you getting lost in thought is part of the process, and it's totally 1,000,000,000% okay. So don't try and stop thinking, and don't try and stop wandering. Don't try and make your mind get clear or really focus too hard. It won't work. You'll think more, and you might even get super duper frustrated and quit practicing. So just let it be okay. It's totally fine to think. It's totally fine to get lost in thought. When you notice, just gently come back to your breath. Hope that helps. See you next time, and happy practicing.